This part is law, Israel law sign, and it says, nowhere in all the Bible or any of the 10 tribe nations of Israel called Jews. That name Jews applies only to the kingdom of Judah. I ain't gonna tell y'all who the kingdom of Judah is yet. If you don't know, you need to study some more. Jews are Israelites truly, but only part of the Israelites are Jews. Almost immediately on being made a king, Jeroboam became afraid of that. When his people journeyed to Jerusalem to attend the annual festival, they would see and desire Rehoboam again for their king. He took swift action to protect his own position. The tribe of Levi composed the priesthood. If you don't know what compose means, I mean created. They were the leaders, the best educated. The Levites living off of the tithes had enjoyed incomes 2 or 3 times larger than the other tribes. This started division as well. They're working for God, and you feel like they don't supposed to make a living. They supposed to drive the best car. They doing what Jesus and our Father want them to do. Is you crazy? With one swift stroke, Jeroboam demoted the Levites, set the lowest and most ignorant of people to be the priests. See why we have to go through what we're going through today? Check these out. He could control them. He could control the more inadequate people. People that, didn't comprehend with things too well. You can tell them anything. You can feed them a dream, and get them to go along with it. Thus, he would control the religion like Gentile kings had always done. Thereupon, many, if not most of the Levites went back to the kingdom of Judah and became known as Jews. So immediately, Jeroboam set up 2 great idols for his people to worship. He ordered the fall festival to be observed in the 8th month at a place of his choosing north of Palestine instead of in the 7th month, and at Jerusalem as God ordered, our Father Yahweh. 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 28 through 32. Also, Jeroboam changed the Sabbath day from the 7th to the 8th. That is, as you can see, the person who composed this book makes mistakes too. People make mistakes. He was supposed to say the 7th day, but he said the 8th. It goes to show you there's a lot of things that are left out. What if I told you there were really 8 days in a week? That is to the day following the 7th day, which of course was actually the day of the week. Thus, he set the day for worship to coincide with the pagan day of the sun, now called Sunday. Look it up. Google that. Through the rule of 19 kings and 7 successful dynasties, the 10-tribe house of Israel continued in the basic twin sins of Jeroboam. Idolatry and Sabbath breaking. That's why some of the families are going through the things they go through, because their grandfathers did wrong. Several of the kings added other evil and sinful practices. But in 721 through 718 BC, God caused the house of Israel to be invaded and conquered by the kingdom of Assyria. You don't know what that is, do you? I'm the Middle East, this is the real deal. Iraqi. These Israelites were removed from their farms and their cities and taken to Assyria on the southern shores of the Caspian Sea as slaves. But the house of Judah, the Jews, a separate and different nation, were not invaded until 600 and 4 BC. See how long they waited to get the ones that were doing right? Because God felt like, okay, now I need y'all to mix with this culture and teach them a little stuff too. 2 or 3 generations, and they teach us stuff. You feel what I'm saying? We all have to divide it. We all shall fall. 2 or 3 generations after the captivity of Israel, however, the Chaldeans rose to world power, forming the first world ruling empire. Under Nebuchadnezzar, the Chaldeans, Babylon, invaded Judah in 604 through 585 BC. So do you see how long he ran everything? From 604 to 585. That's almost 90 years. 71 years. He ran it. Took over everything. That's some of our grandfather. Ancestry.com will help you on that. Cha-ching! Now we'll go back, and it's back to the lecture at hand. The Assyrians before 604 BC left their land in Babylon and migrated northwest through the lands that are now Georgia, Ukraine, Poland, and into the land that is called Germany today. Today, the descendants of those Assyrians are known to us as German people. The people of the 10 tribe Israel also migrated northwest. Though the Assyrians had taken Israel into captivity, the Israelites did not remain as slaves of the Assyrians in Europe. They continued on a little further into Western Europe, the Scandinavian Peninsula, and the British Isles. You know, now, why did they come to be known as the Lost 10 Tribes? They had lost their national identity sign. King Jeroboam had changed their day of worship from 7th to the first day of the week, the day of the sun, Sunday. All succeeding kings followed this practice as well as idolatry. As long as they remained in the land of Israel and called themselves the kingdom of Israel, their identity was known. But in Assyria, they were no longer a nation with their own government and their own king. They were mere slaves. They took up the language of the Assyrians as succeeding generations grew up. They lost the Hebrew language as biblical prophecy said they would. They lost all national identity. After several generations, the tribe of Joseph, divided into 2 tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, came to call themselves British. Joseph did what God wanted him to do. He deserved it. They retained a few Hebrew earmarks. You feel me? They used a few things. Birth or breath in Hebrew means covenant. And Ish, which is ISH, means man. Thus, in Hebrew, British means covenant men, which truly they are. The tribe of Reuben settled in the country that is France today. They had lost their national identity, but the French have their very characteristics of their ancestor, Reuben. The 10 tribes, known as the House of Israel, lost their identifying tag, God's Sabbath. That is why they lost their national identity.